Welcome to Wealthy Women's Conversation Podcast, where we celebrate the incredible journeys of everyday amazing women who are building their own path to wealth and financial security on their own terms. I am your host, Trishelle Williams, and I am so thrilled to have you join us today. Here on Wealthy Women Conversations Podcast, we are all about breaking the mold and rewriting the rules when it comes to creating wealth. Are you an amazing woman that's 40 years old or older who's looking to build financial freedom? Then this is a podcast for you. Our goal each week is to be a beacon of hope and inspiration, no matter your age or money experience level. On this podcast, you will hear from amazing women who have overcome obstacles, defied societal expectations, and created their own version of wealth, success, strength, and resilience. Now, get ready for a heartwarming, relatable, fun, and empowering conversation that will leave you feeling motivated to take action. Together, we'll shatter limitations, challenge conventional thinking, and redefine what it means to be a wealthy woman in today's world. So, let's tune in to today's conversation.
Working class neighborhood, but a really cute neighborhood on the other side of the bay. And that was one of my ethics that I feel like when my mom left my dad, she didn't have money because he had the money. So we lived like very low income and poverty for about 4 years till my mom got out of school and then remarried. She met my stepdad in college. And but she's like, well, remember when, we didn't have money? And like, I don't. I'm like, I know the timeline and I know that we had to move and, but we lived in we lived in the projects over on the west side of town for maybe 3 or 4 years when I was a little kid. I remember started kindergarten over on the west side. And my teacher hated me. When kids be saying my teacher don't like me, they don't. Because, I'm more into math and science, and she liked fairy tales. And I remember I still got an issue with fairy tales, girl. That teacher traumatized me because Sleeping Beauty, right? She was teaching us Sleeping Beauty, and I'm like, how she be out in the forest sleep and she clean and like, because they taught us about weathering, right? So leaves blow, things get dirty. How her dress clean and she'd be out there asleep. Okay, and then they teach you like the human body has to have water so many days. I'm like, well, you have to have food and water. Well, then did Sleeping Beauty starve to death? And I'd be getting in trouble for asking these questions. And so I hated being over there. So I remember that period of life. But anyway, that's when we lived in the projects. But my mom, she was very intelligent and she was going to go to college, but, she got married and started a family, and like the church really pushes you that like women don't need education. You rely on your husband, all this foolishness. And then you be like, they switch up when you all dependent. And not every man, and that's my healing too. I've met wonderful men, and I always pray for that. My prayers have been answered. Like I've had beautiful men in my life, but it's just a part of me that I was like, you ain't getting me trapped financially, right? But anyway, my mom, they built these projects over on West 29th in Denver. And brand new, right? They're townhouses. They were 3 bedrooms. And we were the first family to move in this new townhome. So they were projects, but they are nice. And so then, like, do you clean stuff up in your memory because you're a kid? And was it really bad? So I'm trying to heal these wounds. So I drove back by there and I'm looking at it and they're still decent. I mean, I'm not trying to say it's like luxury housing, but it's It kind of is for the projects. I mean, I'm not saying there was no crime, but I'm not aware of any safety
Right.
issues. They had
Right.
a big hill out front. You could play in the front. You could play with the other kids. And then it was set up so the families could look after the kids easily. Like it felt very safe. It was very comfortable. It was very clean. But it was the projects. But my mom got that, because she knew how to work with people in the city. And I don't know how she did it, but we got in those brand new projects. And then she finished school and we moved to a home, and she remarried, and so um we were in poverty for like money wise, but we still went on vacation. She would take us on the Greyhound bus.
Mm-hmm.
uh and I guess that's broke, like a broke vacation, but I don't know, like I liked it. I think Colorado was so beautiful, and driving through
Mm-hmm.
the mountains in the bus, like I that was fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
um And then we went on vacation to Grand Junction. So that like no, my dad would take us to like Disney World, Disneyland. He had the money, but mom took us to Grand Junction, and like that ain't no vacation hotspot, but it's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, as a kid, you don't know how much stuff costs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. Poverty it wasn't like traumatic for us. I don't
Right. Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
And then by the time I was a kid, I think I don't even remember it all, but maybe third or fourth grade or something. I don't know. We just had a middle class upbringing, and then, but it was still money drama though, because my mom didn't handle money well, right? Because she was supposed to be a housewife. And then my dad, I can't remember the timeline, but I just remember they were fighting over child support, and they drag us into court. They have children in the court at that time, and they'll just say, "Who do you want to live with, your mom or dad?" And I'm like, "What?" But anyway, they worked that out, and they live close, like they live walking distance from each other. So I guess I don't even know if there was a court order, but they didn't follow that, right? And so we could just go to their house, and we had rooms in both houses, and it was just they got along enough. And so but my mom didn't handle money, so my dad always had money, and I liked numbers. So people say things like, "Oh, did you grow up in poverty with no food?" Girl, we grew up with money and no food, because they up in there fighting and we run out of food. So
That
I
part.
had to go to my dad's house and get money, or you could also, certain grocery stores, you back in the day before credit cards, you could just sign and then you pay at the end of the month. So I'm a kid driving the car to go get groceries that I could sign for. And the lady at the grocery store, she was like, "I do not like this kid. Get out of here." She just had like a lot of shade because, I wasn't supposed to be driving, but, you know, whatever. That's just how it was. Um, so it's just like, that's drama too. Like I'm a kid out here driving, and we're out of food because the household is just not managed well. And so I would do that. And so my mom's house, it was like always a feeling of lack of money, but my dad had money, and I just he kept money in a place where I could just go get it and he would tell me the budget, and it was enough, right? And so I could just go get it. And if I needed to go over budget, I had to tell him, but I didn't even have to tell him as long as I needed it. Okay, so now here's the other drama with money. There's market conditions, and my father was not a drinker, right? But I saw him drunk twice, and it was over money. And he would be so sad when he didn't have enough money. And then I'd be sad that he thinks he has to have money for us to love him or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then and so because all the craziness in my mom's house, I always watched the alcohol line, like to see how much people are drinking too fast. And even now at a party,
Mm-hmm.
like too much alcohol gone too fast, I'm jetting. So my dad liked brandy, but it would be there for months.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm starting to notice like the brandy's all gone really fast. So he's drinking again. That means he's having money problems. So I don't even know what that wound is, but I just know it's something in me about alcohol and money. And
Girl, that's a whole lot of
right,
awareness, number one. So the space of awareness is there. It is the space of now unpacking the connection to the familiarity to money and drama and money, like when money shows up, or that when it shows up, that it does what it's supposed to do, yet there's a potential of it going away. And when it goes away, what's causing it to go away? Like, it's not
right.
just supposed to just stay there. And I
But
think the
it's
interest,
deeper than that. It's deeper than that because what do they call alcohol? Spirits, right?
right?
And
True.
everywhere in the Black community, everywhere. I travel a lot and, like, you want some soul food. And, like, where's the soul food? Go look up where there's a whole bunch of churches and alcohol stores. That's the Black neighborhood. So now we
Mhm.
got spirits in the churches and spirits in the alcohol.
Yeah.
And they serve alcohol in the church. That's
Mhm.
spirits.
Mhm.
So it is a whole spirit to alcohol. And, I don't want to go too much off on tangent, but it's even deeper than just that. So, like, this healing shadow work ain't no joke. I ain't trying to be all that deep. I didn't really think I had that much. I just don't drink, and I don't really feel like I had an alcohol problem to be all stuck on dealing with alcohol. But I just
Yeah.
know it's a big shadow because a lot of the domestic violence was centered around alcohol. The sadness or feeling like failure is centered around alcohol. Um, I got hit by a drunk fool. Okay, let me stop because you gotta release anger to girl, you remember you took me to the
I
emergency.
do remember. I
Girl,
do.
my car.
Yes, I do remember. Mm-hmm.
And I like that car,
Yeah.
girl. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing, I had just paid off that car
Yeah.
and
And I'm
total.
just like, look at all of those connections, like the connections of the car and all the things, which is another reason why, like, for real, I'm walking through the process of writing the book, because you don't really realize, like, it doesn't always feel like you are doing your life, you're walking through your life in a circle, or doing the same things over and over and over again, until you pause to consider those same things over and over again. So it's like you have the idea to have a financial successful whatever it is, and then you then decide, I'm going to go after it, and then subconsciously you are unaware that you are now picking some of the same wrong choices, or you're connecting with the wrong people, or you made a wrong choice, and it's all to walk out the same scenario all over again. And so now drama ensues, or this thing
Mhm.
ensues, and it's all these things, and you're like, woe is me, because you're just unaware of what's happening subconsciously with you, that you are navigating to, like, literally be in a cycle to do the thing over and over and over again. And I'm excited and so happy to hear that you were addressing it from the space of doing the shadow work, because there is a level of shadow work that, for people who especially are struggling with getting to a place to be financially secure, and all the reasons why we want to be secure, and all the extra things that's causing us not to be secure, and how much of it is from our subconscious mind and things that are happening, that is keeping us in the places that we don't even want to be anymore. We don't want it anymore. We want it to be over with. We want different, yet we keep walking the same thing out over and over and over. So it's great to hear that you are navigating through that space, even from the space of outside people looking at the success. Because there's a lot of people who haven't had the level of success that you've had. Like, even
But
with,
but see, what's defining success? All this stress. I do not want money like that.
right,
And when I talk about
right.
draining money, like I'm since I'm healing it, like I want to go back and look at the Palm Bay fires for 2008. Girl, I'm watching videos and it was so bad, girl. I've never seen destruction like that because, I would be in Florida sometimes. So I'm the one that drove to look at the house. And I'm not saying this is a good investment strategy, but it's just what we was doing. Like I could pick a house by the numbers and I know that it'll be profitable. So, like, I don't really know where all them houses were. So now I'm supposed to go find this house in a fire where, girl, like maybe 100 houses burned down. Like some of them burned all the way down to a crisp. Some of them had half the thing burned. Thank goodness it wasn't a lot of loss of life. I don't know if there was any loss of life, but property damage unbelievable. A whole
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood burned down. So I'm watching videos online because I never dealt with that. It was just, but check what happened, right? I always pray over my homes. I pray for recovery. A whole neighborhood, girl. It may be more than 100 fires, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
100
Mm-hmm.
homes that went up. Okay, so our home was across the street. There was like a whole park, but with a lot of trees. And then our home had palm trees on the side that was adjacent to the road. So it was like instead of a wooden fence, it was palm trees, and it was so pretty. And it was like a very nice home for a working class family. And that's how I wanted to invest, because I really appreciate that. When my mom left my dad and had no money, like we lived decent, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's my joy to give decent housing to hardworking people that
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
try, and then, they have problems with the rent. And I'm like, how you gonna make it right? Like, make me a proposal. I don't have to come for you and evict you. Like, you figure that mess out. And they do, girl. I'm like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I can sell them the home, if they're trying to buy a home, I will do that.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, like I have my financial targets, and when I meet my financial targets, I
Mm-hmm.
exit. And if it's a tenant that ain't crazy, because some tenants be doing the most, but like if it's a good
Mm-hmm.
tenant, like I will give them first right of refusal to sell the house. And you can
Mm-hmm.
do creative financing, hard money, and all that, because sometimes they're not, you know, a bank won't give them a loan. Okay,
Right.
so even other drama, like my brain is racing, right? Even that is drama. Like, what is that?
So
But
let me ask this question real quick. Like,
Mhm.
here's one of the things that has been a question for me is that I now ask spirit just to give me awareness around, am I expecting something that is not true? Now let me
Yeah.
explain what I mean. Like, so I can have a fairy tale of thought of the way I want. And I'm gonna give you a real example. So let me give you a real example. So I have my Wealthy Women Academy, right? And I have been
And the conferences that you
all
was
the
having.
things, right? So all the things, right?
Yeah.
And so in the academy, there's the space. I'm shifting the academy again to be a 12-month program that allows them to do a self-pacing process through a 12-month program. They got to pay up all up at once versus doing monthly thing. I'm over the whole monthly thing. I'm just over it, right? So here's the thing that was interesting to me was that I have there's a goal. So if I set a goal, maybe $100,000 as a goal, and I set that goal and I say, hey, I want so many people to hit that goal, but I don't want to, I'm not looking, I don't want to do no work. I'm not looking to do work. I don't, I've long left I'm working. Like, that's not something that I desire to do. And so I'm like trying to work through this process of creating this thing. And it is requiring me to put some work in, which is fine. No problem. I know that the initial space of it is going to require some work in it. But then I had to ask the question, am I asking for something that is not actually true? And
Yeah.
is it true that you are going to make $100,000 a month, or a quarter, or a year, whatever it is, and you are not doing any work in this space, specifically in this space? You get what I'm saying? I'm not talking
Right.
about me over here in the stock market and I'm doing options trading. I'm not talking about those kind of, I'm talking about in the very thing that I'm saying that I desire to do, which is have a coaching space that allows for people to grow and learn in the financial space. Is it even a true statement to say I want this thing and also want it with no work? And it is interesting because many times that's what we end up doing because we don't know. We don't have a whole lot of people that are showing us X, Y, and Z. And
Right.
you know what I mean? You're finding out most times on your own. I have coaches. I've paid for coaching. I love coaching. I'm a coach, all of the things. And so I understand its value. But I think many times we are not asking the question, are the things we're asking for, is the expectation we have for what we're asking for truly what is? Like, is that the real thing? And sometimes I think it's not. I think sometimes it is a fairy tale for us. And I don't say no, don't go for the fairy tale, because fairy tales can potentially come true. But I think sometimes that can be the case. Here's what I mean. When I talk about people who are uber wealthy, when you hear people give, these commentaries about how they got uber wealthy, it has never been from a positive space. Like, it's never, ever.
Bankruptcy,
Right.
filing, yeah.
So to then say, I would like to be uber wealthy, but it's going to be beautiful and pretty and without any issues and whatever. Am I having the right expectation? Is that even the appropriate expectation to have in a space where we are now walking through saying we're requesting a thing, but with what? And so,
But that's a shadow. Why do we
yeah,
choose different things? We've been taught you got to work hard.
yeah.
Girl, the first time I invested in a real estate club in a group, um, I went to go scout property in Bakersfield, California, like California homes, they little gold mines, in the right area. And so in my investment group, the investors come there first so that you can buy a home in phase one, because if they can sell all the homes in phase one, which means it's just you looking at a dirt patch and you don't know what
Right.
the house look like, you don't know what
Right.
the carpet color is, you're like,
Right.
okay, but the money's right. So we bought up the phase one homes, and so they had 3 or 4 phases. Girl, I don't know where that house is, right? But you just had to put down $2,000 and say you buy a house. I'm like, okay, cool. So then a property manager found some tenants when the house got built. And I tried to drive out there one day when I was in the area, and I was like, they built too many houses that look alike. I don't know which one is our house, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, we had an exit strategy. We sold it. And then my cut was $20,000. So I remember feeling like that's cheating. Like, how am I get $20,000 from 2,000 for a house? I don't know where it is. I still don't. And, you get the paperwork, but you know how I was not organized at that time. So you need to be, girl, I don't know that house. And sometimes I'll drive through because I know what it looked like from the brochure. And like, is that it? Maybe that's it. But they look too much alike. So like when we started, when we were school teachers, I think my first year salary, I don't know, my base salary was like 24 something. And I just decided I should have 30,000, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I was like the migrant ed tutor, and I did homeschool tutoring and all this kind of stuff to bump my salary up to 30,000. And then by the time they take out taxes, you have to, there's a cost of getting back and forth to work. You got to buy suits. You got, all this stuff. You probably only had $20,000, but that's working a whole year, being stuck in traffic. So how do I just get a whole year's pay from a house that I don't know where it's at? And
Right.
I can't remember. Like, I felt like just something in me, how you're taught, you're supposed to work hard. I didn't work hard. I didn't cash the check from, like, this cannot be real. Right. But I got over that. Yes. But the point is, like, it's your work ethic that makes you choose something hard and difficult, because you feel we've been trained to be the horses
Right.
of the society.
Right.
So getting money from, I don't even know. I didn't look at the paperwork because I don't even know. I should have got more than the $20,000, right? I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
just, I gave you 2,000 and you handle your business and then come back with 20,000. It wasn't hard. I don't need, but it felt wrong, right? I felt like this has to be a scam, and then I was like, oh, the IRS gonna come for me. Like, and girl, ultimately over the real estate, I have had 7 IRS audits, right? But like, since we combing through things, y'all owe me 7,000, like from the last time, and I'm gonna need that. Girl, they don't give you your money back. Like, you have a credit on the books, and can
Mm-hmm.
I get interest
Mm-hmm.
like how y'all be charging me?
Right.
So girl, they seized my assets, saying I owe them. So I had to deal with that for 2 years to get my money back. They just, um, they just give you the money that they took. No interest, no, all your headache, all the audits, nothing. Right. And I didn't owe them. They owe me.
Mm-hmm.
And they're taking my money, girl. So this is no money, no problems, right? So that's part of it too. When I look at building wealth, more like I'm like, oh, it comes attached to so many problems. But here's the blessing, right? Remember, I told you I always pray over the houses. So if you look at the footage on the news in Palm Bay during that fire in 2008, and the reason I'm kind of stuck there is because so much stuff started going wrong with my real estate. That's when they had the crash and all that soon after. But you see people out trying to save their homes. I'm in a whole nother state. So I went out there with no water hose, went down my property. We got a bunch of trees on our property, and fire spreads. The palm trees light up and the wind blows, and then the next trees light up, right? And so that's how it just spread through the neighborhood. Now, there it's a bay, right? So there's a big body of water that could flood. So we knew we were in a flood zone, right? We have flood insurance. Like, how a flood zone burned down by fire, water puts out fire. Okay. So like, this is my life. So girl, I still can't believe it. So this is part of what I'm trying to heal. Look at that footage, all these burned houses. And now again, same thing. I'm like, where's this house at? Because sometimes the street signs burn down. But I had a picture and I have a description, because it's really like your land lot has numbers. And so that's how the insurance company can find it. But we look at the physical structure, like that's my house, but it's really like a numerical thing. So I had all that. I'm like, I'm about to hand this off to the insurance people, because I ain't about to walk through all these fires trying to look for, like, it's a train wreck. Okay. So I'm thinking, our house, one of these Krispy Kreme houses over here. Girl, but you know how you just can't take your eyes off of a train wreck, right? So people are just like, I call them disaster tourists. Like, all these people just driving up and down the street, looking at all this destruction, and you can see for blocks because there's no houses, there's no barrier. So look off into the distance, and there's 3 houses that didn't get burned. So I'm like, wow. And then so all these people going over there looking at the houses. So the first house on the block, the fence burned up, because it's like 3 houses on the block has a lot of land with it. So it's a big fence, right? So their fence went up, and, it's brown, smoke damage to the house and all that. But the house itself was not burned. It's standing, and I don't think there was any structural damage. So then the house next to that, it had like blowing black smoke. So like they probably just needed to paint it or power wash it, but no major damage. So then there's a house next to that, and it had 3 fence posts burned, and then the grass singed, but no fire damage. Girl, that was our house. I
Wow.
almost fainted.
Wow.
I was like, what? And I still like, so it's a disaster. Like, how I get a wildfire. I had a house in Arkansas, a tornado flattened the neighborhood and it tore the roof off our home. But again, at least our house wasn't flattened. But I mean, a tornado. I had a house in Colorado. There was a flood down there, but I had picked the house that I didn't pick it on purpose, that it was high. It's not even that high, but it's on a little bump, but that matters when there's a flood. So I didn't have water damage. We had like underground plumbing damage, but nothing to the house. But all these natural disasters, right? But if your house makes it through a natural disaster, then it appreciates the value. So it was very financially lucrative, but I didn't want money that way. It should be like a regular ass house with some regular tenants that paid. It ain't crazy. You could even be a little bit crazy. I'll deal with a little bit, but please no natural disasters. And it's like, okay. So now I have another house in I can't even remember the name, Cape Coral, Florida, and they overbuilt that house, right? And so there's all these empty houses, and they were having a problem with alligators breaking into the empty houses. And so I'm the one that checks on the Florida property, but I ain't about to go down there, and I ain't going to no alligator place, please. No. So we knew we had a tenant because they're paying rent, but we needed the house inspection. So I'm not driving by and looking, right? So we would inspect every 6 months. So I did an inspection, I don't know, early on. And then we hire an inspector, right? And they send you a report, like, the bathroom faucet leaks, you basically sign, okay, fix all that mess. So that's what we were doing for inspection, right? So it had been maybe a year and a half since I had seen the home. But I don't want to go down there and look at it. So I hired someone to do that. Girl, this woman is a hoarder. How do you get all that stuff in a year and a half? It was just her and her husband, a big house, a big old mess. But financially, hoarders ain't never gonna move. So you can jack up the rent, and the girl they be posted up. So it's financially lucrative, and then the city make them clean that mess up. So again, that's is very financially profitable. But I'm not trying to deal with all that. And then they got alligator neighbors, girl. Um, I'm like, but financially, numerically, it was profitable. So something's wrong with that. Like there's a spirit to a house that I never paid attention to. And so I have a friend that does something called dowsing, and that's what I want to learn because you can heal the energy of a home. And I think maybe like when we would pray over the homes, maybe that did something. But girl, I don't.
Yeah, you have a whole lot of, and I so look forward to as you continue to walk it out. Now I'm gonna have to stay plugged in because
Oh.
to find out all the things that are happening and how you are navigating through walking through the space of the shadow work to get to the space that you desire to be, because of course we get to choose the type of financial increase and how we increase. I know one of my other girlfriends she's always says that she wants to have the increase without any harm or hurt to anyone.
Yeah, to the good of many, to the harm of none. I do add that.
Mm-hmm. And so I always, hear her say that, and I understand, especially if I didn't have a visual before, I have one now after talking to you about it. I get it, and so the process of getting to the place of ideally living a life that you desire, what does that look like for you?
So that's my problem. I don't know because like I did have dreams and I got not everything but enough, right? So I don't know. I do not know.
Okay.
And you write down things. I do like vision boards. And so my thing health like my vision like for wealth like I was born with just like a lot of health problems and stuff, and now that I'm aging I feel that more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thing. I just want to be in the best health I can be naturally, you know? And so other people, what they think, oh, that's your weight. Okay, that too, but it's, my eyes, I was legally blind when I was younger and I didn't know that, right? And then when
Mm-hmm.
you're older, you start losing your vision more. But
Mm-hmm.
I can do that, like, cause that's how I started. So, but there are ways to make your eyes stronger. So I'm doing those kind of things. I want to do more stretching because just like my spine and stuff, and my legs were uneven too when I was born, and they just go back to uneven. I got to do a lot of stretching. So that's what I'm trying to do. Just like more health that's not pills and surgery and all that, because they be quick to give you some surgery. And I fell on my knee, so my knee was injured about, I can't remember, girl, I don't know, whatever. But that's another thing, that accident that paid a lot, but from falling. But I don't want money like that.
Okay, so
Oh,
so the other thing for those who are listening, because we're gonna end up breaking this up into two, because girl,
I'm sorry, girl. Talking, talk, girl. I can't
girl, we
even
way
say,
over a
say,
30-minute episode, honey. We are in
okay.
an hour and like what, 10 minutes now, but
So
we'll
what
break it
you
up
saying is
into
I
two
need to
parts.
shut up, okay?
We'll have to break it up in two parts to make sure that everybody get all the things, because I do think it's imperative to understand that the journey is very, very different for everyone. And most of you, well, actually any of you, unless those of you who are connected to Felicia, myself, or in our spaces that us, you would not have any clue or idea, because I didn't even know all of the stories. You get what I'm saying? I was unaware of half of those stories. But if for people who could potentially see you from the outside and you being able to create the life that you desire, they would not, if you didn't tell them that, they wouldn't know that. You get what I mean? It's not something that is seen from a space that is going to be recognizable. Most people typically see and move and navigate from a space that they don't know details, and so they create other stories, and it's a whole space of creating narratives that are not necessarily true. And so,
can I say something about that? Because there's a whole healing energy to that. Okay, so like, you went to good schools, you stacked your paper. We did that. Have you ever looked at a man that didn't have a degree and cared about that?
like that, he didn't have a degree.
Yeah.
I don't think I cared about the degree.
Right, like be intelligent. You don't need to be reading up in here, but like I don't care if a university gave you a piece of paper.
Right.
But that's what men think, right? So like it's this whole other sort of punishment side of women getting wealth. Like men are mad, they think it came from your degree. No, it didn't. And if you aren't tripping, like you could learn it too. It didn't come from college. And so like sometimes they sabotage you or work against you because they feel like they just don't want to build wealth together because there's this made up life that they think it was just a real rosy path and you got all the perks and benefits and they didn't, well,
Right.
not that nothing, but
Right.
so I just wanted to share that because, tell Tony I said, hey,
I
but
will.
like through all this foolishness, like you the one that came, have an intact marriage and, still smile on your face after a few years. Like y'all got some decades in,
Yeah.
and, so that's part of wealth too. And so I didn't get that. Like, it's just, I found men that treated me well, but at the same time, if we got married, they wanted, needed me to be less,
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
or like,
Yeah, absolutely. And
yeah.
I definitely get that. There's so many parts and pieces. Oh, Felicia, I'm so like, oh my God, I'm trying to figure out how, girl, I don't know how I'm gonna break this up. But
Oh, girl, I'm gonna stop talking.
no, I'm just saying it from the space of
It's so good to chat with you.
no, it really is, because the conversation is so expansive. It really is. It's really more than you checking off boxes. It's more than I'm trying to make some money or I'm having a real estate deal. There's so many parts and pieces to either you being able to go forward, or being stuck or being in a cycle, or not being able to see the things that you desire to see, or not wanting to, or not even knowing what it is, right? So I always, one of my frustration, and that's a whole nother conversation, which is why we're gonna stop before we do it again, and we'll have to have it again. But one of my whole conversations in the space of me writing the memoir thing is about the anger and the upset of the things that were told that are really not true. And you come to find out in your 40s how so not true those things were. And you think back, dang, why was there so many lies? You know what I mean? What in the world? So I get it. Now, what I am going to say is I'm going to have Felicia give her last thought. What's one thing that they can take with them
So, like, when you talk about building wealth, like, why? What do you want? Because let's think of if money was water, and there's a reason I'm saying that because currency, ships, right? Like
it
study money
flows?
is
Absolutely.
maritime and water. Okay, so if you pray for more water, there's glasses of water, buckets of water, and there's a whole ocean. And if you get too much water, you got a flood, right? So pray for the wealth you can handle and pray to grow to handle the wealth you desire to have. Like Don't be skipping that step, right? We all seen people self-destruct when they get too much. All your dreams come true and all your dysfunction shadow come true that you don't even know is there. And you got to have a spiritual system. And I'm not saying you got to be like Christian or it has to be what everyone else is doing. Like you'll know when it works. And so right now with all this foolishness, like how I end up with 4 court cases, and I they're not all, I don't want to speak that to existence, but it's looking like it could be just to get my money. Like, give me my custody, get my shit.
Right.
Girl.
Yeah.
But anger, you can't grow with anger. And I'm really like, I'm for real about the whole Suge Knight thing, you know, like
yeah, absolutely.
I really want to roll up on these people. But at the same time, if I let that go, I could have been done, made that money back, right?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna let it go. Like, why are you stealing my stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the bank making lying ass paperwork. I won't mention their name, but like it was this brother that was in the news a few years ago from a certain bank that's the same bank, that they wouldn't let him do the high net worth investing. Okay, so that bank, who shall we name this? Like they did all this lying paperwork that basically stealing $600,000 from me through like changing interest rates. But I understand math, and you're like, oh, well, it's confusing because you had to change it. Boo boo. I could do a whole amortization schedule right now, and I know you start messing with my payment at this time. Okay, well, there's foreclosure insurance that they put on your property, and so when you come up to where it's profitable if you go into foreclosure, put it that way. So they be doing stuff, manipulating. So you could pay, you doing honest stuff, and they try to put you in foreclosure when you paid, girl. So dealing with all that, but you just gotta level up, and there's asset protection, and you have rights, but you gotta learn all that, and we're taught, oh, work harder, get another job. I ain't about to work and give you $600,000 that you put out your ass. No, ma'am. No, sir. Okay.
Clearly, y'all clearly we're gonna have to like break this up into 2, and then we're gonna have to talk again with Felicia.
Right. But yeah, all the best to you. And yeah, I'm figuring out life. I don't want to be a grown up right now.
I hear you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you growing up and stuff for me to chat with me and get this. I promise you, what's gonna be so funny is this is gonna be the podcast that everybody come with all of the ups and downs, all of the this ain't because they've all been good. All of the guests have been amazing.
Yeah, I was listening to Dr. Witt, and I don't know, I haven't seen her in years. I don't know if she remembered me, but I remember her.
I'm sure you remember LaShawn. Yeah. And so all of the different parts and pieces, and everybody brings their own space and what happens. And I just appreciate, I remind myself to allow each episode to flow at the capacity and at the level that it needs to flow, because it's for a reason. I would have never thought we would have talked about shadow work. I promise you, Fee, I would have never. But it ain't
for the faint of heart. And you know what? I get it. Why people walk around in fairy tale mode. Like, I don't want to be dealing with all this crap.
Girl,
you think you'll be happy?
Absolutely. So I am so happy and grateful that you did. Y'all, I promise you, I am going to we're going to come up with another time to do another recording. We are wrapping up season. Okay, season 1, and then we'll be moving to season 2, and I'll definitely make sure that Dr. Clark is on that one as well. And by that time, she'll probably be able to tell us, because I'm going to be on her tail. Girl, I'm going to need you to know what you get this money for when we do it, so we can come back with another storyline.
Right.
Okay, so thank you.
Love you, girl. It was so good.
Thank you so much for your time.
All the best to all the women in the group. Get your paper, but get your life right with your paper, being balanced. I'm tired of this Black women suffering, the community suffering, and Black men against Black women fighting because, they just running pimp game on us, and then they blame, have us blame each other. I'm done with all that, and yeah. So
thank you. I promise you, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm gonna need you to come on again. So Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And everybody, go ahead and listen to the rest of the information that is going to be coming up next. And we'll be back with another amazing episode soon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Wealthy Women Conversation Podcast. We hope you found inspiration and wisdom as we sat at the table to grow and learn with our amazing guest who has paved the way for her own financial freedom. Remember, you hold the power to create your own version of wealth, success, and fulfillment. No matter where you are on your journey, it's never too late to take control of your financial future. Keep seeking knowledge, exploring opportunities, and embracing your unique strengths. Together, we're challenging the norms, shattering limitations, and redefining what it means to be a wealthy woman in today's world. Join us for future episodes as we share captivating stories, insightful advice, and practical strategies to support our wealthy journey together. If you enjoyed this podcast, please don't hesitate to return next week, where there will be another amazing, brilliant, and absolutely captivating guest to speak on what it takes to build your own path to wealth and success. Thank you for tuning in to the Wealthy Women Conversations Podcast. Stay focused, determined, and strive for the wealthy life you desire. Until next time, I'll see you on the wealthy side.